Hello there. Israel has just attacked Iran's nuclear sites and killed its top commander. Now we wait to see Iran's response. In what Israel calls a preemptive strike, its forces have killed General Hossein Salami and their army's Chief of Staff Mohammad Bagheri, as well as nuclear-associated scientists, and they've attacked Natanz, Iran's nuclear enrichment facility, in what is being described as dozens of attacks across Iran. And an Israeli official has said that they are only just getting started. Reports on social media suggest that the Natanz facility, where their uranium is enriched, has been completely destroyed, but that has yet to be verified. And given the enrichment centrifuges are deep underground, it will probably take some time to find out the truth. And all civilian flights in the area are being shut down. The Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz told a forum of military officials just before the attack that this is a defining moment in the history of the State of Israel and in the history of the Jewish people. Upon entering office, I defined the thwarting of Iran's nuclear program as a top priority. Iran is more determined than ever to realize its vision of destroying Israel. We are at a critical juncture. If we miss it, we will have no way to prevent Iran from obtaining nuclear weapons that threaten our existence. We have dealt with Iran's proxies over the past year and a half, but now we are dealing with the snake's head itself. And Iran has already warned Israel to expect a harsh and decisive response to Israel's Operation Rising Lion. With Reuters reporting, Israel said it targeted Iran's nuclear facilities, ballistic missile factories and military commanders on Friday at the start of what it warned would be a prolonged operation to prevent Tehran from building an atomic weapon. And the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has stated that these attacks will continue for as many days as it takes to finish the job. Following Israel's preemptive strike against Iran, a missile and drone attack against the State of Israel and its civilian population is expected in the immediate term, said the Israeli Defense Ministry. And Israel has declared a state of emergency across the country and closed its schools. Understandably, there are now fears of all-out war. Stand by for mass protests in London. The pro-Hamas types will be mobilising for it right now. It wouldn't surprise me if all armed forces and police leave has been cancelled across the Western world to await protests in their capital cities. The Iranians have for their part ordered social media to avoid discussing anything that could disturb the public's psychological security, warning people not to spread dis or misinformation, something that's being taken as a precursor to shutting down the press, if there is much free press left in Iran to shut down. Now, the US says that although it is not involved in the strikes, it was aware of the impending attack. That may be why President Donald Trump put out such a stirring pro-US armed forces video on his social media platform recently, to ensure that those like Iran are aware of what would happen should they try to sweep the US into this conflict. I do have to wonder whether our dear Keir Starmer knew anything about this too. But Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, said, "The Israeli attack was carried out with full knowledge and support of the wicked rulers in the White House and terrorist US regime. And the US will therefore get a forceful slap," they said. That being the case, are we looking at a wider world war? According to David Horowitz, writing in the Times of Israel, the strikes are taking place because Iran's nuclear weapons program had advanced to the point of existential threat from a regime avowedly seeking to bring about Israel's destruction. They had reached a point of no return because Iran had recently accelerated their enrichment program to obtain a sufficient amount of uranium to construct 9 nuclear weapons. In the assessment of Israel's security establishment, said Horowitz, the 9 bombs figure may be an underestimation. The enrichment process may be even more advanced than the International Atomic Energy Agency has reported, and the weaponization process has featured advanced testing in recent days. At the moment, the IAEA is in touch with Iranian officials monitoring radiation levels at Natanz. Now, I'm sure Israel has been sharing this information with certain other world powers, and wouldn't the Five Eyes US, UK, Canada, Australia and New Zealand intelligence networks have picked all this up too? And we have a UK Labour government sat there talking about building up defence without committing any real money to it. Anyway, Israel has struck Iran. Many in the world will see this as an attack by Jews on Islam, and many Western countries have already imported that conflict. Are Western domestic law enforcement bodies ready for that to possibly erupt? While we all stare at military action many miles away in the Middle East, are we prepared for what might happen here as a result? Now, a couple of hours prior to Israel's attack on Iran, President Trump published the following on his Truth Social platform. We remain committed to a diplomatic resolution to the Iran nuclear issue. My entire administration has been directed to negotiate with Iran. They could be a great country, but they first must completely give up hopes of obtaining a nuclear weapon. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Now, just a very quick interjection. Please like, subscribe and comment below. And if you like what we do on this channel, please do become a member for less than the price of a pint of beer in London a month by pressing the join button or following the link in the descriptions box below on a desktop computer. Now, there are many within Iran who will be hoping that Israel can continue this and destabilise the country to the point the current regime and its IRGC can be removed, so the country can return to a more secular government. To make it a place where women are no longer treated as second-class citizens, or worse. But others in Iran and around the world are hoping, even believing, that Iran has the capability of completely wiping Israel and its people from the map. Well, it seems that Iran was verging on the reality of having that capacity with the imminent development of an arsenal of nuclear weapons. And I also have to say that had Iran already had those weapons available to them, I think they would have already used them against Israel. But that's just my view. Now, here's what the Gatestone Institute published just 2 days ago about the findings of the International Atomic Energy Agency report. Rather than persisting with his efforts to appease the Ayatollahs, the publication of new damning evidence about Iran's clandestine nuclear weapons program should persuade Trump that he has no serious option other than to confront Tehran over its deceitful nuclear activities, as well as its ballistic missile program. Also able to conventionally blackmail Iran's oil-rich sunny neighbours, Europe, and eventually, possibly the US itself. It seems that it's the Israelis that have done the confronting. And their armed forces have so far eliminated Hossein Salami, Commander-in-Chief of the Islamic Revolutionary Guards, Ghulam Ali Rashid, Commander Qatam al-Anbiya Central Headquarters, Fereydun Abbasi, a nuclear scientist and former head of Iran's Atomic Energy Organization, Mohammad Mahdi Tehranchi, a nuclear scientist involved in Iran's nuclear weapons program, Mohammad Bagheri, Chief of Staff of Iran's armed forces. Further, according to Iranian reports, Ali Shamkhani, senior advisor to the Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah al-Khamenei, has been seriously injured. Finally, stay safe, and thank you for watching.